Shaletsky, Dusakar, 007, and 7. These are the three underrated / underutilized survivors of each class. You might think that they are good and very popular, and to that I say the first part is true, yet the second isn't as much. Dusakar being the range support, Shaletsky being more the laid-back type of sentinel, and 007 being the deceiver. I know it sounds a bit corny, but you understand. Starting with the most popular, Shaletsky. I know people will think that Shed is one of the most used characters, but out of all the sentinels, he really isn't. Sure, you might think Jane Doe or Chance are pretty rare to see, but in actuality, they have a very vocal fan base to say the least. Ever since Jane's release, I've been seeing about one or two a server, and a similar case with Chance, where he has a very high-risk, high-reward playstyle, which triggers all the drooling iPad kids' dopamine receptors when they get a heads on a coin flip. With that being said, let's actually talk about Shaletsky. Shaletsky is hands down the best starter character since he is very easy to learn, but this doesn't mean that his effectiveness is minimal. Shed is a very wild card type of survivor, with both of his abilities being able to suffice as all three classes depending on how you look at them. His slash being his main ability, where he pulls out a sword and slashes the killer if they're in close enough of a range. The stun time being on the higher side at 3 seconds. Although being heavily choreographed, doesn't mean that it's a bad ability. The slash has the capability of doing plenty, starting with the most obvious, stalling the killer. 3 seconds of downtime for the survivors is huge, and can easily extend the chase by 30 or more seconds if correctly utilized. This is where the appearance of his sentinel class is shown. On to the next case, the support side. The slash is also very good to help other survivors in danger. While being easy to use and chase in a one-on-one scenario, the opportunity it brings when helping others is also really good, even though it can be a bit more challenging to land these slashes. The most common way is around the corner slashes, where, you guessed it, you go around the corner of a wall, and while the killer is chasing someone, you go out and slash them and hit them with the element surprise. This is one of the best quote-unquote techs there is to Shaletsky, with its simplicity playing a huge role in the strength of it. There is many other methods to stun the killer mid-chase of other survivors, but I'll get to those soon. The final case for his wildcardness, I don't really know what to call it, but you get what I mean, is mainly shown in his second ability, Fried Chicken. Fried Chicken is one of, if not the best survivalist abilities, even though it's on a sentinel. This chicken can heal up to 40 health after a quick couple seconds. Although he only has 2 per game, that means Shaletsky technically has a max of 180 HP, not counting medkits or any other means of healing. This allows him to live way longer than the killer would appreciate. Now that I've explained his capability, I'd like to talk about why people don't use him. Back to what I said at the start, he's better for beginners. Even with all of his, advanced techs and ways to use him, he still takes a very little amount of time to understand. This isn't exactly a bad thing, but when people only care about getting milestones, which most people do, it makes them go off of people's minds when choosing who to play. Even my first milestone was Shaletsky. Now that I've been playing him again, I realize that he is a great character, but his skill ceiling just isn't that high. The hardest things to learn about him is when he is first used, and once you can effectively use him, that's it. You grind out his milestones and forget about him. People also don't use him because his gameplay loop is pretty boring for a sentinel. It's really just slash, and then slash again, and then do generators, and eat chicken when you're low. Really easy stuff. Compared to a sentinel like Guest, especially a Guest who knows what they're doing and is a good team player, Shaletsky will never be as good as them. But it doesn't mean he is really bad. There are still many things to use to your advantage when playing as him, so I would like to list off a few basic techs that are very good. First one being against Slasher. Hello, this is editing me, and when I was going through this, I realized that maybe I should clarify one thing. These techs are basic, so the sweats in the comments, or if there is any, hopefully this video does good, but these techs are basic, okay? And same goes with every future one, and so on and so forth, so, yeah. Back to the video. When you get into chase with said slasher, you wait for them to use Raging Pace. You play normally until they do an M1 to cancel it. As long as you're in the right position and your slash is ready, If you time it good enough while they're in a lag, you can slash to stall the chase even longer. There's also a similar one with 1X, where he goes to entanglement, and then you just slash him in the face. That's simple. The pull of it will take you in and you get a free slash. There's also a couple other things you can do, like when Noli Void rushes, you can slash when he hits the first one on you. And really, in any case where the killer can't move or they're heavily restricted, that's when you should slash. The next character, Dusakar, is without a doubt the best support, but with the catch: his skill level. Dusakar's abilities are really good if they're in the right hands. You see, his abilities consist of a zap and a shield. Simple, right? And the zap slows down the killer or busts the survivor, being able to hit both if lined up correctly. And his shield, where you cast one upon a survivor and most damage is negated for a couple seconds. Dusakar's challenging side is shown when he's zapped, with it being fairly difficult to land. What you want to do with them is maximize the amount of times you use his abilities, so basically every time they're off cooldown, you just use them. When people first play as him, they always get a false sense of hope since his playstyle is very unique compared to the others. I mean, I guess you can say his zap is like chance of one shot, but whatever. I'll get back to why people don't play him soon. Dusakar's kit is very strong and fun. When I maxed him out, I had a blast. He is the potential man of supports, kinda like how Guest is, since their skill ceilings are so high. With Dusakar, the killer knows that going after them is a necessity in most cases, until the Dusakar himself is actually bad at the game. This is also a leading factor in why people quit, since he just gets targeted. Although he is difficult, that doesn't mean I think that people shouldn't play him. People need to take the time to learn him and actually get good with him. When I play as a killer, there's nothing more annoying than a sweaty Dusakar. To the people that watch this, play as him. He's too underrated. On a serious note though, Dusakar is a really strong character, but not enough players to take advantage of that strength. Now for the reasons I think people don't play him. Dusakar, with this crazy potential, is just that, potential. He is stupid hard to learn, let alone be good with. I know on the surface he seems easy, but he isn't. He's a time and precision based character to the maximum, thus leading to him being bad in the player's eye since it takes way too much time to master. Even with him being hard to utilize, I think that if just a couple hundred, maybe a couple thousand people take the time to do that, Forsaken servers won't be hell. Also, on a side note, I really can't think of any techs, just make sure to min-max his abilities. Now, for our last outlier, 007. 007 is quite the special little guy since he uses clones to trick the killer. 007 is very different from the other survivalists since he doesn't directly have an ability or abilities to stall the chase. Instead, you need to actually have skill. Clone baiting being the only viable method to use him. It's all about timing once again. Unlike Noob or Veronica, 007 has to make the most of his clone when in or out of chase. The good side to that is his cooldown is very short. His last man standing strength is pretty apparent since his other ability, Teleport, can do just that. There is one caveat to him. People are smarter than they used to be. Everybody can read 007 like a book. Honestly, making me think that 007 is one of the most skilled characters in the game since people just know now. Although people are very smart nowadays, I sound kinda old saying that, but whatever. It doesn't mean that pulling off tricks with them are impossible. Clone baiting being the best way to stall the killer, working the most effective. Clone baiting is where you just time the clone spawn right when the killer goes to either kill you with an M1 or any stalling attack like Gashing Wound or Demonic Pursuit. You literally just spawn a clone to force them into an uncancelable animation. I think that 007 is also one of the hardest characters since people have just straight up gotten better. There's no doubt that tricking the killer with him isn't easy, and honestly no wonder he has a small fan base. I know I sound like I'm repeating myself, and that's because it's true. I couldn't be more vocal about how these characters are so underused. Anyway, next part. Why people don't play him. 007, just like Dusakar, he's hard to use correctly and effectively. The only thing he has going for him is his sneakiness. In Last Man Standing, as I've previously stated, he specializes in that since he can literally just teleport and go invisible, thus allowing for some crazy plays to happen. I don't think he is bad, but more if he's not as good as he used to be. Like Cool Kid, updates cause them to get worse over time while they just don't change at all. Now that about wraps it up for the underrated survivors, but I'd like to say a couple things before I go. First of all, this is obviously all my opinion, and I don't expect anyone to get mad, but in the case of it, I like to clear things up. Second, this is a retrospective on these survivors. I'm only saying these things that I believe and or are true about them, and this video was made right before the Azure update in case anything changes. Third, it's a simple video. I didn't go into any in-depth research for every last thing that they're capable of. I only made this video because it was kind of a message. I just want people to use them more. Fourth and finally, I know all of them have a big fan base. I just chose the survivors I think should be used more from each class. And there we go, that's all I had to say about them. Let me know what you think, and hopefully this doesn't flop. Go check out my other videos, and speaking of, I'm working on a level 200 slasher video, and it should be up soon. Have a good one, and be good.